welcome to Framework. This is John, one of the hosts of Framework, and with me is always the other host of Framework, Al. Good morning to you.
Oh, good morning to you. It's time for us to finish up the Veilguard, hopefully with our best episode on the Veilguard, because we are now to the best part of it, which is the ending.
Yeah, well, hopefully the most positive part. I think we can... I don't know how how these things go. We'll see. But my impression was the ending was the best part of this game. So we're here to talk about that finally, and put this game to bed, and also this series, I suppose, because it seems unlikely we're going to get another Dragon Age.
So I guess we should talk about the ending sequence itself. I guess before that, the story beat is that we go. The Butcher gave us the location of this ritual that Elgar'nan is doing with a bunch of, he's going to sacrifice a whole bunch of kidnapped elves for blood magic. I got pretty sick of hearing the word ritual in this game, and the word blight, largely in part because they repeat stuff so much to you that I was getting really sick of it. Anyway, I don't remember a lot about what is actually going on there. I think it's revealed then that Elgar'nan has an extra large archdemon, perhaps?
Sure. That sounds like the sort of thing that happens. I'm not like you. I'm kind of just like, I'm some weeks out from doing this, and I'm just sort of like so many of the sort of generic details of what's going on here were just kind of immediately sorted into the out file. Just dragged them right over to the recycle bin.
There was a different mission before this, right? Where just kind of suddenly the team announces to you when you go back to Lighthouse, oh, we found a lead or whatever. We think the archdemons are going to be here in like the Hosberg wetlands or something. And you go there and you fight two archdemons at once, and all the different factions kind of show up to support you. And I think we killed two of them at once, but then he's got a new one.
Yeah, they're just churning through archdemons in this game.
Yeah, there's too many dragons, and not built up enough for us to remember exactly how they worked. Anyhow, the sequence where you're sort of like you have to put on Venatori robes and sort of try and sneak through his gathering. Like that's Conan stuff that I think is fun too.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Here's the thing, man. I think the final missions of this game are kind of good. Like when they finally get around to finishing the story, they do an okay job. I mean, the die has been cast at that point to a large extent. There's not much saving most of it, but the actual playing of the finale is better than it has been. It's certainly better than it was in Inquisition.
It's hobbled by the villain not being any good. And then
Elgar'nan is rotten. He's stupid. He looks dumb, and he's got a stupid voice and a dumb plan. I think the game correctly kind of shuffles him and Gillenane off to being like, okay, they're actually not the real villains. It is indeed Solus.
Which just underlines, like, why did we go on this whole diversion where we set up Solus to be the villain of this game, and then in the first act said, actually, he's not the ancient elven god that's the real problem. These other two ancient elven gods, and also we're throwing a blight on top of that. And Solus wants to rip a hole in the veil, which is what Corypheus wanted to do. So it's the villains of every game previously. It's just sort of all of them at once, I guess.
Yeah, more archdemons. Yeah,
without the flavor and character that.
Corypheus, whatever. I mean, is Corypheus a better villain than Elgar'nan? Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But, 601 half dozen of the other.
He's not good, but he is an ancient Tevinter Magister who wants to make Tevinter great again. And that is...
It's better.
One step closer to the actual, present tense reality of this game world than all this bullshit elven lore stuff from 16,000 years ago that we're dealing with. So on those grounds, yes, he is absolutely better. He's not good, but everything wrong with Corypheus is more wrong with Elgar'nan and Gillenane.
That's true. They've even got worse designs than Corypheus, which if you would have told me that, I would have been like, no way, yeah, surely not.
Not possible.
But they do. They look awful.
They have a similar design choice of just arbitrarily 11 feet tall, also.
There is that. They look like characters from the Gargoyles cartoon show.
Yeah, I bet.
Mhm.
Elgradon,
or whatever
particularly.
Saturday morning cartoon you want. They could be Captain Planet villains, whatever. They're big, stupid looking monsters from a Saturday morning show.
Yes. And look, I've already graded extensively about how this is my least favorite crew of any Bioware game that I've assembled. But mechanically, they finally do the thing that we've been scratching our head about. They just lift the suicide mission from Mass Effect and put it onto a Dragon Age setting. And like, that is basically functional and uses the pieces they have properly. I'm like, yes, finally. They realized we don't have to top this thing. We can just do it.
They certainly don't top it, but they do just do it. And I appreciate that. I'm from the leaks that have come out recently about all the things that went wrong with this game. It sounds like they had kind of brought in a new crew, the Mass Effect crew, to fix the end of this game. And so I feel like you can kind of see the work that was done there very explicitly, like when the new team came in to just solve the problems in an expedient fashion.
I mean, if that's true, then they earned their bonuses. I hope they got them. Yeah, you can see that the end of this game, the very end of this game is the best part, I think, is pretty widely accepted at this point.
It is sort of, fixing something that's broken narratively. It's not fixing, but just sort of like trying to, you can't come in to a 75-hour game, make the last 6 hours good and fix it, Like,
no, there's no fixing at this point. The basic problem of my Rook as my player character, that I don't like my own character. That I am my least favorite component of this ensemble.
I mean, the whole point is kind of to create a character here, and it's not even that they just gave you a character to play. It's that you can't even play a character that has been created for you in this. It's just sort of a collection of sort of low humor witticisms and gentle attitude. That's all you get here with your Rook, no matter what you do. And I don't know. My Rook still looked cool. I thought I had an affection for my design of the character. There was that, at least.
Yeah. Well, I read before, but I just like my guy constantly putting his fists on his hips just grated on me early and often. So I was just constantly annoyed with myself. Okay, speaking of, I guess one more detour onto broken things. I'm 80 hours into this game. Right before I'm going into the final mission, when I realized that I thought you couldn't really sell stuff for gold to merchants. I guess you can't. Like, I wasn't really clear when I hit sell all. I guess I was getting some gold from that, and then also some faction influence or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's also some missions or some merchants where you can flip through one of their different tabs, and on the things for sale is a pile of gold. And weird. I can buy a pile of gold from them for it, 100 heartwood or whatever, different things, different kinds, I guess. But it's like, what a weird way to set up your inventory system. Like, Dragon Warrior solved like this non-problem 45 years ago. Like, I just make it a sell. Make it so I'm selling my extra heartwood, not that I'm using it as a currency to buy gold off of them. Like, I don't know what it could possibly be gained by that. And it was the very end of the game I've spent dozens and dozens of hours on before I realized that. Also, it was in the finale going into the last boss fight. I realized it's possible that I could equip runes on the magic lyrium dagger and do special moves with it.
Yeah, you can do that. It's like,
could I do that the entire game?
Yeah, you can do that the whole game.
Nobody explained that to me at the beginning. I was wondering, why am I not using my Y button here?
Yeah, you can totally do that. There's some good stuff there. It'll buff your refreshes, so it takes less time. You make you invulnerable for 5 seconds. There were some good ones there, actually.
That would have been. Sounds like it would have been useful. Might have made me enjoy the combat more too. It's so weird to me how like the inventory and economy were explained so terribly to me because I assumed that I had an understanding of it just from having played dozens of RPGs before.
Right, right.
Like, so the primary gameplay elements are not explained well, and that's very weird because the game over-explains itself and its plot in so many other ways. Like, not enough that the plot really makes sense, mind you, but it just is constantly repeating itself about, hell, we're not in Gillinane. Hell, the gods, we gotta fight them. We gotta do our personal problems over and over again. And I guess that goes in hand with the stuff I'm complaining about modern writing, and part of it is the excess of gentleness, and part of it's the assumption that people will be second screening and only half paying attention, so every plot point has to be spoken aloud and repeated ad nauseum.
That is a weird thing now that you'll notice in games where they'll keep the plot really, really straightforward, so you can, for a streaming audience, it's crazy shit, honestly. Like, it's so bizarre. Have you ever done that? Have you ever sat and watched a playthrough of a game?
I
have.
Not top to bottom, but I've watched clips of it, of certain games.
Yeah, you find a good streamer, a person who knows what they're doing, and it can be entertaining. It is a very weird place to find myself, though. I mean, not that I do this often, but this is like a piece of media you can consume, is watching someone else play a game. And sometimes it's for a game that you will never have the opportunity to play or whatever, or just don't want to, and it's kind of a neat way to experience it. Games have changed in such a way that this is a viable thing to do. I mean, somewhat. I mean, I think younger people probably even more so, but like, the shitty NES games that I grew up on, there's nothing to do there. There's no like
no. Some of those I've occasionally gone a rabbit hole of watching speed runs of games I played as a kid, which is sort of fascinating in a different sense.
Exactly. Weird shit like that exists out there now.
But that phenomenon we're talking about goes beyond video games. Like, it is in movies and TV, and I've heard like actors and writers talk about how they're explicitly studio mandated to over-explain things because they are required to just accept that people are too screening and need things over-explained. And I think that also, like,
making movies that look good on phones. The dialogue mixes are a casualty of this too. I think we've talked about.
I also think it's overlapping with the thing I was complaining about earlier, which is the concern about making sure that the characters are likable at every single moment, and the Force Awakens thing of announcing to the screen, "I like this new character," blah blah blah. It's the insecurity about that the audience will not go with you very far. You can lose them so easily that you have to be at every moment be announcing exactly what you want them to know and then even what you want them to feel in some cases.
Well, there is a revelation, and it was kind of a cool one at the moment, I got to admit, which was in a game full of kind of revelations that aren't that interesting. When you talk to Morrigan, I forget the exact context of why this has come up, when she kind of reveals finally that actually, it's revealed when you end up stuck in the Fade. When you
we have the first section of the mission where you have to choose some, assign people jobs, and I'm actively fucking this up as hard as I can.
Sure,
it's really holding my hand through. Pick somebody who has experience fighting mages, and I'm like, okay, Tosh, and pick somebody who has experience fighting giant things. Like, okay, Emmerich, sure. I'm trying to get the better results as I can with this. What I guess it comes down to:
how many of your guys were Veilguarded by the end?
How many are there total? There 8.
It's 7.
There's 7, so I had 5, and then the 2 that I made the conscious decision to not Veilguard. They're not the one. Well, I guess I got one of them. I got killed. Emmerich, I just put down in a wrong enough spot that they let me kill him. And then I guess what the other thing is, whoever you choose to be the team leader that's not with you is the one who gets killed by Gillinane.
Unsavable. You cannot save that one, no matter what you do, and it has to be Harding or Davrin, I believe.
Right.
So you cannot save that person, whoever you send.
For me, it was Davrin because I knew he was not Veilguarded, and I thought that That
Oh.
it would probably be a thing where they would be saved based on whether or not they were. Turns out not.
Nope, didn't matter. I sent Harding. She died, and that was it. Nothing to be done.
And now I don't know which side of my mouth to talk out of, because like there being an unavoidable consequence in this game to decision, and that's one decision where there's an unavoidable consequence, and one where they don't really hold your hand through what the decision will entail before it.
Yeah.
I like that at once is like what I'm asking this game to do more of, and also feels really out of step with how this game has been doing every other step of the way.
I kind of like that there's just a random death you can't deal with. Now, I mean, as soon as you understand that it's a random death you can't deal with, then it becomes, something that you plan for and work around. But there were moments in this planning session where I was literally, I was just like, I don't know what to do here. I have to think about this. Should I look online to find a solution? No, that's stupid. Let's just roll the dice kind of thing. And so, yeah, when I lost Harding, I was kind of concerned I'd done something wrong. And now that I know I didn't, it's a little less interesting. But that was cool in the moment. That was interesting.
It's funny that I went through the exact same thing, but in reverse. Like, should I look this up so I can figure out how to maximize the damage I do to my own team? But I didn't feel. I guess I was a veteran enough Mass Effect games and there was enough hand holding about like pick somebody who's good at fighting mages. Like, oh well, Lucanus is notorious as a mage killer. I know what they're trying to get me to do here, and somewhat experience of magical wards. Okay, obviously that's Balara.
Yeah, I mean, I ultimately was just fine. The only death I had was the one that you can't avoid. It all worked out with me trying. But I did stress a little for a second. I was like, I don't want to fuck this up at the end. Oh, no. Even though I don't care about the characters and kind of would have enjoyed seeing one of them die. But whatever.
The only other thing I managed to fuck up enough was to get one of like the Veil Jumper quest givers killed in a cutscene.
Oh, I didn't know that was possible. That's cool.
Yeah, you got kind of the Haldir at Helm's Deep death.
Oh, sure.
Like, oh, yeah, that guy. We know that guy. That's okay. And also in the way of like getting stabbed multiple times. It's kind of framed very similarly as it's fighting. And he's an elf. Okay. So the other thing is you have to choose either Balara or Nev to do some magic force field stuff. And whichever one you choose will get kidnapped by the Blight and infected. And then right. whether they live through that or don't is based on their Veilguard status, I believe.
They grabbed my Balara, and I was like, that's too bad. She made
they grabbed my Nev, and I went, oh, it's too bad that I did complete her side quest.
This is all good stuff, and it's what we were asking for, and it does increase. It does improve the finale of this game. The other thing I think that helps a lot in the end, and that I was pleased about, was they shuffle Elgernon and Gillenane to the side. They become level bosses, and Solus becomes the villain of the piece once again. And kind of a complicated, interesting villain again. Not the best. The ship has sailed in that regard, but like it's something. He's a trickster all of a sudden. And not reliable, and you can't trust him, even if the game has kind of built him up to be the good guy for a while. Then it's like, no, he's still bad.
This end game is split into two parts, where after you kill Gillenane, then Solus manages to switch places with you and put you in his Fade prison that he's been stuck in the whole game, which is a prison made of regrets. And again, this is a thing that I really would, if there had been half as much like story shaping decisions to make in this game as there were in Inquisition or Mass Effect 1 or whatever, then you could have done a lot more interesting stuff with the Mind Palace of Regret. But because I've been railroaded through things and the game refused to actually like scold or tell me that I made any wrong decisions at any point, it rings a bit hollow.
It's narratively what happens too. You get out of the prison and Solus is like, "Oh shit, you didn't have any regrets. God damn it."
I guess that is true. The plot functions on the lack of thematic resonance of this conceit. But during that, we get the reveal that Varric's been dead all along. We get a Sixth Sense reveal. Fine, I actually got a little spoiled on that 20 hours ago. But not a bad. I'm not a big fan of the sort of Sixth Sense, Usual Suspects type twists, but I guess it's one plus of spending so much of this game in a void outside of space and time in a liminal dream space gives you a little more latitude to play that off and not have it be like it's incredibly stupid that no one ever said his name.
I was surprised by it, and I thought, wow, that's actually interesting. Did the game play fair here? Did have they actually been playing this off like this is entirely a one-sided thing? That no, I've never talked about Varric with anyone else. And then, immediately after that cutscene, I went and talked to Nev about something, and the first thing she says is "Oh, it's crazy that only me, you, and Varric survived that thing at the beginning." And I was like, "God damn it, you cheated the whole way. This is bullshit." I was mad.
Wait, she did? Really?
Yes. Yes, she totally mentions it and talks about Varric being alive. And it was just it wasn't a response to the cutscene. It was just a random thing she said. Not in a cutscene as I was passing by, that proved that they had never really bothered to make this work in any way.
Okay, I never got that. That's a pretty straightforward and egregious fuck up.
I mean, they kind of cover their ass with it with Varric, and where he says "Oh well, Nev and Bilar, they all just saw what they needed to see," or some nonsense like that is what he says, and they didn't fix it. They didn't make it work.
Well, they said, I think they were something about they thought you were acting weird about it, but they were just letting you have your space, which, with the HR coaching that we've been talking about, it makes kind of some sense there. And actually that is if I didn't cotton on to this earlier on, it is partly a reflection of I just accepted that when I would go talk to Varric, he would give me these empty supportive platitudes. And I was like, yeah, that's the way this entire game is written. So it didn't strike me as it's weird that he's not interacting more with the plot of the other characters. This would stand out in Origins, which was strangely a game written with more psychological acuity by my estimation. But
certainly. Yeah. So they cheated on that. So I have to say bad job. No good, does not work.
Well, that Nev thing is pretty egregious, but it didn't happen to me. So, so then we go into the final assault on Minrathous. We're fighting our way through there. It is a bit of repeating. We're the fighting our way through Denerim finale of Origins.
Yeah, totally.
With some more kaiju elements. The giant tentacle monsters that the Blight has become involved. I would say it's much more impactful for me in Origins because even though
obviously
a lot of the Denerim material in Origins is really optional, I've always spent so much more time there than I have. Well, I don't even know if that's true. I've spent a lot of time in Minrathous, but have not developed a relationship to it the way I did with Denerim. I
mean, I could draw Denerim's map for you right now by memory. And I mean, that there's a difference there in an obvious way. And part of that is just Minrathous is sort of a complicated mess by design, but and part of it is I've played Origins, 6 times now. I've put that game through its paces, and part of it's just that Denerim is a lot smaller and more compact in that. But at the end of the day, it's much more memorable, obviously.
It's also weirdly to me a function of that how much more functional the economy is in Origins. Was compelled. I needed to know where the merchants were that had different items, and I was interested enough to know that. And I never, because again, the trade in this system never made sense to me. I never really concerned myself with it, and because the gear was not transferable to, and all these little things add up. And then there's also the quest markers that I was never really exploring. I was just following the white dot at any point. And so not really paying attention to my surroundings. I guess in a way, kind of that I probably still have a better innate sense of direction around my hometown that I grew up in and drove around without GPS, that haven't driven around in 20 years, than I do the places I've been living now, where I Google Maps just tells me where to turn each time, and I'm not really absorbing as much of my surroundings.
Well, I mean, is that because you were a kid running around playing Tom Sawyer or whatever, though? Like, you're on the ground, having an orientation based on, repetition and free time. That's
maybe, but I mean,
possible.
when I was driving around at 16 and 17,
fair enough. Okay.
like
Yeah.
across town, I still like had a better. But yeah. So I don't know. These things kind of add up. For all this, we are in the finale that is basically working. We're fighting through and we're finally getting to the Archon's palace. I'm still mad. I'm very butthurt that I never got in this game to meet the Archon of Tevinter himself or the Black Divine or see the Magisterium in session or anything. We technically, the finale takes place in the Archon's floating palace, but it's been covered in kaiju tentacles and the red color palette of the blight and all, so it's not in its proper state.
My main interest in this game coming in, before it existed, you might say, was I want to see Tevinter. I really want to see this thing they've been building up for 3 games. It sounds awesome, sounds fascinating. It sounds like, I've like an equal culture and world to Ferelden and Orlais as they've been set up over the course of these, and kind of the most interesting one on paper. What a whiff. I feel like I learned more about it in Inquisition just by talking to Dorian.
Yeah. Dorian gave us so much more information than secondhand than I got from running around Docktown with Nev and have her constantly talking about how this is her town and she wants to protect it.
Or maybe it was just more interesting. I'm not sure. No, I think you get more literal
it didn't engage with
information.
any of the interesting aspects.
Like that's where the talk of the Black Divine came from. You don't hear about a Black Divine in Veilguard.
Nope.
And don't even really know about the Archon.
Nope. There's sort of, to a lesser extent, this is true for Navarra and Antiva, that we had heard less about in the prior games, but I'm like,
right,
we have a whole game to explore these new areas of the map. And Treviso turned out to be a little more than the place where the Antivan Crows hang out, but it's still way too much just the place where the headquarters of the Antivan Crows to me. And Navarra turned out to be the necropolis and nothing more, which is the one thing we had been given any sort of information about it in the prior games. And that was disappointing to me.
Oh, by the way, speaking of the Crows in Navarra, and more specifically Lucanus, you didn't finish Lucanus's plotline. Would you like to know how his devil situation resolves itself?
Oh, yeah, sure.
It doesn't. They don't. They talk about like, oh yeah, I got to go deal with that after this is all over, and that's the end of it.
I did get through the part where I had to go into the Fade and go through like Lucanus's regrets, I guess. And Bioware has a template for this. That they did it in Jade Empire, and I feel like there's probably versions of it in Baldur's Gate 2 somewhere too, or whatever. But where I'm going to get to this, and it's going to be kind of like, do we purge him of spite, or do we let spite take over more entirely? And no, like all the options are therapeutic ones about like learning to have a better working relationship with spite.
Yeah.
And I was kind of railroaded into that, and it was, semi-resolved. And that was before we got into the stuff with the butcher and the third or fourth act stretch of that quest.
I tried like hell to get the resolution or do something about this, or follow up on it and be like, okay, what are we gonna do? Come on, Lucanus, how do we do this? We want your head in the game, of course. It's very important that all your personal matters are resolved before we deal with this other thing. So what do we do here? And it's just like, I'll deal with it another time, and that's the end of it.
That is just like malpractice. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like you've mentioned before, though, eventually this is all leading to Solus has given a pinky sworn that he will not, the veil will not fall by his hand when we're done. Not at all suspicious wording there. But after we kill Elgradon, he sort of reveals as his final deception that the veil was tied to the life force of Elgradon and Gillenane, and with them dying, it will now come down.
Well, we knew this too. Morgan has told us this, that killing Elgradon and Gillenane will achieve Solus's ultimate goal, actually.
Yeah, so we see this coming. And
However, there's a sort of a prevarication of like, well, it won't be automatic though. He'll have to do a ritual or something. So you'll have time to deal with it afterwards.
Yeah, and so you deal with that. You have 3 options here, basically, for dealing with Solus.
Mm-hmm.
Not totally unlike the 3 options of Mass Effect 3, I guess, for resolving things with the Reapers.
A bit.
You can beat him down and force him to tie his own life force to the veil, like cut him with a magic dagger and do it for him. You can trick him by giving him a fake dagger that confuses him into doing it by accident. Or you can, if certain things have lined up, with the help, well, in my case, with the help of the Inquisitor that he had the romance with, and Morrigan, well, Flemeth speaking through Morrigan. Sorry. The fragment of Mythal speaking through Flemeth, speaking through Morrigan.
Is Flemeth still a part of it? Is she bouncing around there? I mean, how much of a being John Malkovich situation are we in here?
Mythal is Flemeth. Mythal. Yeah, Finkel is Einhorn. But they all, I'm being glib. This resolution is dramatic, and despite all of the Elven lore nonsense, kind of like finally made sense to me. Or at least it's
character-based.
Character or perspective. Yes. He's convinced to finally see the error of his ways and leave the veil up. I wish I had a clearer idea of what the veil coming down actually would have meant. And again, how that contrasts with what Elgon and Gillenane winning would have meant and what things are now. But we're taking what we can get at this point. I got an emotional resolution with the Inquisitor and Solus, which it's like, hey, you know what? This game, if nothing else, Veilguard, if nothing else, made me appreciate Inquisition a lot more.
I actually kind of like the ending where you trick him with the fake dagger, because it's
that's the second best for sure.
Yeah, it's sort of a low cunning kind of hoisted by his own petard, sort of like, you know, he's the trickster and you've tricked him, and he's like, I respect your game, and then, you know, and fades into the portal. That's a decent ending, and is similarly character based. You know, that it's just sort of a stupid parlor trick at the end. It kind of outwits him because he's got his mind on bigger shit. He doesn't notice that you swapped daggers. I think that's kind of good. I think it's a solid writing. I might even prefer that ending. I did get the I convinced him of the error of his ways, even though I had a male Inquisitor that he did not romance. Right. They don't hang out or anything, but he does show up and be like, hey, I think you should do it too, Solus. And that's sort of the deciding factor.
Well, I think you have to have done all the Mythal side stuff with Morrigan to get that statue, to have that option open, I believe.
Yes, I mean, I did all that. I did all that stuff. I got that. I mean, I played the hell out of all of it, everything I could. You know, I tried to finish the Spite storyline, all of it. But and so I needed a female Inquisitor that romanced him in order for them to go off together into the void.
Right.
But he still went off on his own accord.
Again, kind of satisfying, kind of underlines how that the villains of this game were a sideshow that was an unnecessary distraction from the actually interesting conflict that had been set up just fine previously.
I would have liked to have been like moving against Solus the whole game. Yes.
Absolutely.
And you could even still do his sympathetic backstory. You could do it all, and probably quite a lot more interesting things with him. If he were the main antagonist and the driving force of the narrative. My God, I mean, who would have thought?
Well, in terms of that, maybe that it's time to turn to the last thing we do here, which is our theoretical adaptation corner.
Yep.
Where I do think that the early Dragon Age games are very adaptable to a streaming environment.
Less so as we go along.
Do we need to adapt this game, given what we laid out for the last 3?
Okay, well, here's how I see it. We're coming off of like 6 seasons and a weird miniseries thing. Massive success. The public simply won't allow Dragon Age to end with the end of the Inquisition narrative. So, by
we must
popular
presuppose
demand,
that for
we
this.
must.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to do this. We have to keep going. Now, I guess you could just, start from scratch, which, is maybe the way to go. But for the purposes of this, for adaptation, let's assume we are forced to adapt the Veilguard story. I don't know. I mean, if you've listened to us in the past, you've got all the background here. But yes, this presumes wild success of our show. We've made changes along the way, but never more so than would be required to turn this into a show. And I think this is a season of TV. I don't think you can stretch this more than one season.
Well, what I was thinking is, I mean, the short answer of can we adapt this is no. There are elements worth using. So I think the very first thing is you need an entire season taking place between Inquisition and this game.
Okay. That I'm down for. Sure.
Yeah, we're leaving the rails quite a bit there, but I think you need a whole season of Inquisitor and Varric and whatever other like fan favorites are left over from the prior seasons. They're hunting after Solus, and that can culminate in disrupting the ritual, killing off Varric. I guess having him in prison in place of the Elgardon and Gillinan.
Maybe,
but that's like a finale. The opening of Veilguard is the finale of a bridging season that covers that 10 years.
What if, for another thing, how about Rook's not involved at all? There's no Rook, and we just keep using the Inquisitor?
Oh, absolutely.
Why not, right?
Rook sucks anyway, but at this point, if we're 6 seasons into something, we built up a cast that renders a new point of view character like unnecessary in a way. Like the game needs that.
Who cares? We can... I mean, in a version of what we're talking about, the Inquisitor is actually the hero of Kirkwall as well. So it could just be one continuous streak where, we didn't even find the protagonist of this series until like the 4th season or whatever. But then that's the guy going forward. And obviously you can pull anyone from the past seasons out of retirement here and stick them in and slot them in. I don't think you need a single character from Veilguard to make an appearance. I'd put Emmerich in.
I was going to say Emmerich is the one I think you need. So, I mean, yes. Ballara and Meryl from Dragon Age 2 are practically the same person anyway.
Yep. In fact, it would kind of be interesting if you ran across Meryl and this is what she was up to now.
Yes, I agree. That would have been a better thing for Veilguard to do. Davrin's role, that could be any it could be
anybody.
A warden from Origins that killed the Archdemon and survived. It could be Blackwall. Any other word. If we forgot to knock off Carver, Nathaniel Howe in the earlier seasons, if they're still around, they could get a pet Griffin.
Whoever we want to bring in. Yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah. For Nev, I think we would actually maybe get a better perspective on Tevinter and Minrathous from Dorian.
Bring back Dorian. And I don't mind a Nev-like character, honestly. Like some sort of street-level, resistance figure with the Shadow Dragons. You can do stuff like that. In fact, it's not a bad idea. It's just having them just ignoring all the actual ruling class of Tevinter in order to focus on sort of the internecine battles between the People's Front of Judea and the shit going on in the streets here. Like...
Yep, that is the problem with the Shadow Dragon stuff.
Yeah, just ignore all that, obviously, and make it about the Tevinter Imperium, and I think you're fine. I mean, that is what I'd want to see here. Like, most of the plot of this is absolutely disposable. Almost none of it you keep. The locations, I think, that's what is fun to adapt here. You can go to Minrathous. You can go to the Navarra and Ravain and Treviso and all these places that we've heard about. Lucanus is another guy who can just be what's his ass? The original Antivan Pro. Zevran. We can just bring him back.
I thought about that. He could, but I don't think that would be a good thing to do. I think if we just retain some of the shadier depiction of the crows, generally, that will completely overhaul Lucanus's characterization anyway.
It's true.
And if there is a defining aspect to Zevran's character, it's that he's about the least spiteful person you could ever meet.
Sure.
So I don't know that the demon would have that much to latch onto. And
they don't use him. There's no reason to maintain the demon, honestly.
Well, we want to do something more interesting with it.
I guess that'd be the reason to actually.
And if there's anything else about Lucanus, it's the aristocratic family drama that doesn't fit with Zevran's backstory at all. So I think that's fine. We probably killed Zevran off earlier anyway, in my conception. So
I mean, I actually do think that the setting, Treviso, and the organization of the Crows are interesting and fruitful places to go. Having them be like, a little bit more like like an Italian city state or something like that, that's sort of run by the Medicis and their assassins, and that's all cool. Do something like that, make them sinister, and and you can even do a version of the plot that they have with the Antam and the non-binary governor. That can all be in there. Just make it interesting and good, and I think the material is there for it.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely, and if we're inserting a whole nother bridge season in there, we have plenty of time to explore things. I mean, I do think we need to get rid of the lighthouse entirely.
That's fine.
People need to live in the actual world.
Yeah.
We use this time, rather than exploring ancient elven lore in great detail, to have our people interacting with Tevinter culture or Ravane or Nabara. You dig into Nabara past the necropolis. That would be great. Let's have Sten be the leader of the Antam, and he's struggling. Like, his experience in the prior seasons has led him to break from the Qun, but now he's struggling with its corruption by the elven gods or whatever. That
is what I see as something you can actually do in a really interesting way with this. If you're crafting it as the final season of Dragon Age, right, the final narrative push, because let's be frank, there's not going to be anything else to adapt. So you can bring back anybody you want and put a cap on any character arc that wasn't fully, resolved. You got something else for Shale to do? Shale can come back.
Sure. Shale could be Tevinter somewhere.
Yeah.
They could, I think, actually their sort of closing slide in Origins says that they're going that direction. I think I killed Shell off early on.
It's fine. But whatever. Anybody who we want to bring back is not dead can come back, is my point.
Yes. I mean, so Dorian, Isabella, Morrigan, they should all be more involved in action than they are.
Morgan, certainly.
Veilguard. I think we need to...
Liliana, what's she up to?
That's true. Oh, yeah. Liliana, Cassandra, what's she doing? We need to develop the Venatori and the Antam into more complete factions with, like, understandable motivations. I think the Butcher could be a great season arc villain.
Yep.
We want to meet the Archon, the Black Divine, obviously. We need to find some ways to explain more clearly what Solus wants to accomplish and what the world looks like if he succeeds. Like, is it just... I think that it's supposed to be that it restores the elves to immortality. And that would be bad for everybody else, basically.
Some version of that, that it becomes a paradise for elves at the expense of everyone else, I guess.
Yeah.
And you can just sort of simplifying and clarifying that would go a long way. And I mean, it's kind of appropriately fascist, but also sympathetic. That's Solus. So
a little bit. It has to be tinged enough that that elves could still reasonably oppose it. And I think that's what the game kind of struggles with, is that they don't want to introduce anything that makes it complicated for an elf player character to be opposing Solus.
Of course. So, I mean, in this scenario, even the elves die, right? Or are reduced to, they lose their form, or it's unclear as the point.
I don't know. I think the way I start is just saying, like, look, I see, like, it's a nice thought you have there, but, like, it's been too long. You've slept too long.
Right.
The elves, we might be fallen and broken people, but we have built our own world now that you might not like as much, but
we're fairly comfortable with having physical forms.
Yeah, right, or whatever. Right, yeah, okay. So I think what this comes out to is that rather than not doing this game at all, it sprawls out to being maybe 3 or 4 seasons of stuff where we're reaching a Game of Thrones level of sprawl, where we're doing independent narrative strands in Minrathous and Treviso, and we're sticking with Ferelden and Orlais because we want to check in with Cassandra and Liliana and see what Aveline's doing in Kirkwall. And this game establishes off-screen there is a whole other world war going on in the South.
Right.
That could be, we could be focused more on that on TV than we are in the North. Especially
if the Inquisitor is your main character. Yeah.
And if we have, if Cassandra is important to people.
This provides narrative use for the Lighthouse, I got to say, man.
Okay, look, fine if we use it sparingly, and
Yeah.
probably at some point, a season finale is that the gods take over the lighthouse and cut them off. from it.
Sure,
And,
sure. You know, there's all sorts of things you can do with it. Yeah, I mean, it's a ground one rewrite. Here's one thing I would do, though.
it's
Elgranon,
really ground
Gillenane, we're not really going to mess with them, I think. Or if we are, they're beasts. You know, they're giant beasts that he has unleashed. Maybe they're, combine them with the archdemons in some way. They don't even mess with them having a personality or different goals than Solus's. These are the things he's unleashed that you have to fight. And maybe it's a neat little trick that once you kill them, that's what takes the Veilguard, the Veiled back or whatever. That'll, I think there's elements of their plot that you can maintain, but as characters, just no.
Yeah, well, I think you either have to go one direction or the other with them. Either make them more fully beasts or more fully human and not 11 feet tall and not kaiju-esque.
You have Solus, who is a villain who already is interesting and works.
Well, yeah, but we could have different villainous factions.
Yeah,
okay. We'd have to come up with actual motivations for them. That's more complicated. I think you're probably right. It's probably more interesting if they're released accidentally. Our conflict with Solus accidentally releases these beasts.
I mean, it's sort of like
feral,
in the fashion
corrupting.
of Greek mythology. It's like, oh, you've unleashed the Hydra. Oh, that's actually Poseidon's son. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like there's creatures that sort of are related to the gods that act as enforcers.
Well, and maybe it's a complicating factor of the conflict too that we have to fight back their influence and the blight they've unleashed, but also we can't cut the head off that Hydra without taking down the Veil. They have to figure out,
right?
The magical workarounds for what to get to the point where we can actually kill the gods without accomplishing Solus's goal for him, and that makes things difficult.
And murdering gods is not a bad place to end up in the final seasons of your fantasy epic series.
Sure.
That's what you're doing in like level 15 of Dungeons and Dragons or whatever. Once you've progressed to a certain point, it's kind of get to the largest blown out place it can be.
Yeah, it's where animes end up.
Right, exactly. So that all I think is workable and fits into the context of the larger story here. I mean, there's certainly aspects of this that we're just going to drop, the magic dagger. A lot of this stuff just left by the wayside is not needed.
Yeah, probably not.
I think the majority of it, maybe. A lot of this faction stuff is, do we need veil jumpers? Fuck no.
No, they're just a Pacific tribe of Dalish. That's that's fine. And to the extent that the factions are there, they don't get along, and that's much more interesting.
Of course. Mm-hmm.
I will say for all the shitting on Tasha's story I've done, I do think, we certainly don't need Tosh for any like plot purpose in this. I do think that the whole non-binary thing could make them unique enough to bring something new to the mix. Like, if you just present that with a modicum of nuance and effort at integrating it with the setting, then
Tosh is one of the better characters, I think. Of your team, yeah. Tosh was one of my favorites. I like the design and vocal performance quite a bit on Tosh. I'm not opposed to Tosh being around at all.
I think the problem with Tosh is not the gender identity. It's their identity as a dragon hunter, I think, is a little problematic because I don't think it helps the setting or the stakes of this world for dragons to be so plentiful that's like a job,
right?
That someone who otherwise presents as a stupid teenager can have and be experienced at. But there can be plenty of other ways to have them join up and die.
Well, the Conan shit with the Dragon King, that stuff, that's what it is. Do Robert E. Howard stories with these people, that's a flavor of fantasy that slots in very nicely to Thedas, and it's good, works.
The 3-episode Dragon King arc could be a great deal of fun.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, pure Conan kind of adventures stuff. Anyway, so this actually sounds better than I thought it would. This is kind of interesting.
But you do have to go completely off the map. And
it's a bigger rewrite than ever before, for certain.
Is it like the point where Game of Thrones got past the published books and had to start kind of making things up on its own? But
it's not an inherently impossible task. They just blew
Right.
that.
That's true. Yeah. No. Yeah.
And it's hard for Martin. Martin can't do it either. So,
No. I don't. I mean, I'm not saying that that's undoable, but it's also not as unprecedented as we might have initially thought.
Sure.
Is my point.
Sure. And I do think this is the end, right? I mean, it's certainly the end of Dragon Age games. So I think.
Oh, well, we didn't mention the secret after credits ending thing. Did you see that?
Right. Well,
that apparently there is a secret. If you do a certain side quests or whatever, you end up getting a final little slideshow with some voiceover indicating that this secret Illuminati group from across the sea has been manipulating events of all 4 Dragon Age games so far and is finally ready to make their move against, I don't know, are we Western Thedas at this point, if they're coming from, I guess. So that's the promise for the Dragon Age 5 that will never happen.
Right. Fine.
Although, not a bad idea. I mean, you could really go overboard making everything the result of puppet masters from across the sea, but just the idea of there's a whole other continent of things across and factions and from across the ocean that could come and start mixing things up. But EA's throwing in the towel. They're not going to pay for more Dragon Age games, and also clearly with the stuff we complained about, Bioware itself was kind of throwing in the towel on maintaining continuity with the prior games. Yeah, so they were going to do a complete board wipe here and start over, I think.
So where does that leave us with the Bioware Omnibus here? We went through all the Mass Effect games, except I guess we have one left, Andromeda. But we've done all the Dragon Age. We're not going to be able to touch Anthem. And I guess at some point in 2026, we're going to try to take on Andromeda. That will be the official last one we can do until a new Mass Effect game comes out. Do we want to talk about the, I don't know, the things that have taken BioWare's ball and run with it afterwards at all? I mean,
I think it'll be a decision after Andromeda. I think I have purchased Baldur's Gate 3 and never opened it.
Oh, well, I mean, look, we're going to do that one, man. You are going to have a ball with that. It's super fun. It solves so many things. It's so different than what we just played. The team dynamic stuff, you're going to be delighted, I think, when we do finally get around to that. Although it is a monstrously large game. So let's take a little high fantasy break, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to step away from dragons and fucking dwarves and such for a while with my video games. But I think we got to look into that stuff. It's better than what we've been playing.
Yeah. Well, we're going to find out about Andromeda sometime next year, whether it's better.
But first, Andromeda. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for listening, and thank you for going on this journey with us through the entirety of Dragon Age. I mean, what have we been doing this for? When did we start Origins? Like summer of 2024, I think. Early summer of 2024, I started playing Origins. Maybe. I think. Maybe even earlier. And
I think we've gone through 20 years of game world time.
Yeah. Wow.
Too.
Wow.
It's been quite a journey. It's a shame that it ended with me, for my money, by far the weakest of all the BioWare games.
Yeah, you think the worst one?
I think so. I mean, I guess it's weird to sort of compare it side by side to the original Baldur's Gate is a little odd, as they're kind of playing in different fields.
Completely different experiences in every way. But yeah, I mean, there were some high highs, some some fun times. I think I'm done with Dragon Age myself as well at this point. Yeah. I think I've played them out. Probably true of all these. I also have kind of decided that now I'm north of 40. I got to be a little bit careful about the things I spend time on, and video game wise, with a kid at home, I'm sort of like, you can't afford to do this again.
But some of it's grandfathered in for me. So if they do release Dragon Age 5, I'm gonna play it.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. But I mean, I'm not replaying this is the point. I'm not gonna go through this again to see what the different endings can be. I'm not having it anymore. I mean,
well, we have YouTube to do that for us now.
Yay! Playthroughs. Okay. Well, that's it. Thank you for listening. Rate and review the podcast on the app or provider of your choice. And yeah, tune in this year, at this point, for, if soon to come, or maybe not so soon, Mass Effect Andromeda.